You did everything right. You bought a healthy plant, you dug the hole, you watered it faithfully, and your hydrangea just sits there, barely growing. Maybe one sad little bloom, if you're lucky. After 40 years of growing these plants, I will tell you the truth. Nobody at the garden center will. Hydrangeas are not hard, but they are specific. And most gardeners are quietly making one, usually several, of the same 7 mistakes, sabotaging their blooms before the season even starts. Some of these, you have been told, are the right thing to do. That is what makes them so dangerous. Number 4, especially. Most people do it every single evening in July, thinking they are helping. They are not. Stick with me to the end, because I have saved the one that costs people an entire year of flowers for last. Mistake number 7, pruning your hydrangea at the wrong time of year. This is the single most common reason hydrangeas do not bloom. One wrong cut in March, and you have quietly removed the entire coming season of flowers before the plant even wakes up. The trap is that hydrangea pruning depends on which type you own, and most gardeners have never been told there is more than one type. There are 2. Old wood hydrangeas set next year's flower buds on last year's stems, sometime between August and October. The bud is already sitting there through the winter, waiting. Old wood includes the big pink and blue mophead you inherited when you bought the house, the big leaf type, along with lace caps, oak leaf hydrangeas, and mountain hydrangeas. If you cut old wood back in fall or spring, you're cutting off next summer's flowers with your own hand. New wood hydrangeas set buds on the current year's growth. That means you can cut them hard in late winter or early spring, and they will still flower on the fresh stems that come up. New wood includes Annabelle and Incredible, the smooth hydrangea group, and every panicle hydrangea, meaning Limelight, Little Lime, Bobo, Firelight, Pinky Winky, Quick Fire. The fix is direct. Before you pick up the pruners, figure out which type you own. Old wood you prune only in July, right after the flowers fade, and only lightly. Spent bloom heads and any dead stems from winter. New wood you prune in late February or early March, and you can be aggressive. Cut back 1/3 to 2/3 of the plant if you want bigger flowers on stronger stems. 2 insider notes. First, if you inherited a hydrangea when you moved in and you have no idea which type it is, wait 1 full year and watch when it blooms and where the flowers appear. Then prune accordingly the following season. Do not guess. Second, if a stem looks dead in April, do the scratch test. Take a fingernail and scrape a small patch of bark. Green underneath means the stem is alive and will leaf out. Do not cut it. Brown underneath means it is dead and can come off. I made this exact mistake in 1998, could have been 99, the memory blurs, with my first inherited mophead in Ohio. Cut it back in March because I thought I was being tidy. Watched it grow a beautiful green shrub with 0 flowers for 2 consecutive summers before an older neighbor finally told me what I had done. 40 years later, I still see the same mistake every March in beds up and down the block. Mistake number 6, planting in the wrong light, usually afternoon sun instead of morning. Almost every American gardener planting a new hydrangea places it in what they think is the ideal spot. Morning shade to protect the plant from cool mornings, then afternoon sun for maximum blooms. It is exactly backwards. Hydrangeas evolved as understory shrubs in Japan and the American Southeast. They want gentle morning sun and afternoon shelter. Give them western afternoon sun in July and August, and the leaves scorch by 2 in the afternoon. The whole plant droops from heat stress by 4, and the flower color washes out to a chalky pale version of what the pot tag promised. The specific window that works: 3 to 5 hours of soft eastern or northeastern morning sun, with dappled or full shade from around noon onward. That is the entire recipe. A single well-placed shrub on the east side of a house will outperform a fertilizer program you spend the rest of the summer chasing. One zone caveat: in zones 4 and 5, where summers are cooler and shorter, big leaf and panicle hydrangeas tolerate and even prefer more sun. Panicle types actually want 6 full hours of sun in the north to bloom their best. So the afternoon sun is bad rule is a zone 6 through 9 rule. North of that, look at what the plant needs specifically. The fix if you already planted in the wrong spot. If the plant is under 3 years old, it will move. Dig a wide root ball in early October when the plant is starting to slow but the soil is still warm. Move it to the east or northeast side of the house. Water it in deeply and mulch. It will sulk for a season and then come back stronger than the plant that never moved. There was a bed on the west side of my old Ohio house where I planted 3 Nico Blues sometime around 2002. Could have been 1999. My memory on that decade blurs. Watch them stress every August for 4 consecutive summers, blooming small and pale. Moved them to the east side one October. The following July, every single one of them was 3 times the size, and the flowers were the deep, true blue the tag had promised the whole time. Mistake number 5, planting the hydrangea too deep. This one kills more hydrangeas than gardeners will ever realize because the plant does not die quickly. It slowly declines over 2, 3, sometimes 4 seasons. And by the time the gardener figures out something is wrong, the crown has been rotting quietly underground the entire time. The mistake happens at the moment of planting. The gardener digs a hole slightly deeper than the root ball, drops the plant in, backfills, and steps back. In the next hard rain, the soil settles. The crown, the point where the roots meet the stems, ends up sitting an inch or 2 below the surrounding soil grade. Water starts collecting in that low spot. The oxygen the roots need to breathe is not getting through the saturated soil around the crown. Crown rot begins. It looks like the plant is just not doing well for years. What is actually happening is the plant is slowly drowning. The fix is simple and requires no product. Plant the hydrangea high. The top of the root ball should sit half an inch to a full inch above the surrounding soil grade, and you should mound the backfill soil up to the root ball, not down into a saucer. Water will drain away from the crown instead of pooling around it. The roots stay oxygenated. The plant grows. If your soil is heavy clay, plant even higher, a full 1.5 inches above grade, and amend the backfill with 3 or 4 shovelfuls of coarse gravel and finished compost, so water moves through instead of sitting. One thing not to do that most gardening books still recommend: do not dig a hole twice as wide as the root ball and fill it with expensive amended potting soil. That creates what soil scientists call the bathtub effect. Water flows into the loose amended zone from the surrounding native clay and does not flow out. The root ball sits in a wet bathtub of your own making. Plant into your existing native soil. Break up the sides of the hole so roots can move outward, and let the plant adapt to the ground it will actually live in. Mistake number 4, watering shallow every day instead of deep, 2 or 3 times a week. Here it is, the one you're probably doing tonight. Standing at the base of your hydrangea with a hose, giving it a friendly 2 minutes of water because it looks a little droopy, feels caring, feels responsible, is training the plant to die. Shallow, daily watering wets the top 1 inch or 2 of soil. The plant reads that as normal moisture and never sends roots down to look for the deep water reserves it will need when the first real July heat wave hits. When that heat wave arrives, and it will, the shallow root system cannot pull enough water fast enough. The plant wilts dramatically at 4 in the afternoon. The gardener panics and waters more. The pattern doubles down. By August, the shrub is stressed, thin, and often losing leaves. The fix is a rhythm change. Water hydrangeas deeply and infrequently. 1 long, slow soak twice a week is worth 20 daily quick sprays. A soaker hose laid at the base of the plant for 30 to 45 minutes twice a week delivers water 2 feet down into the soil, and the roots follow. Once the roots are deep, the plant can survive a July heat wave without any drama at all. Bonus, deep, infrequent watering also produces bigger flowers because the plant is not spending its energy trying to survive. Here is the diagnostic that separates real gardeners from the panicked ones. It is called the morning droop test. If your hydrangea is drooping at 3 in the afternoon on a 90-degree day, walk away. Do not water. If it is back up and standing tall by 7 the next morning, that was heat stress, not thirst. The plant was closing its stomata to protect itself. It did not need water. If it is still drooping the next morning, then it needs a deep soak. That single diagnostic saves more hydrangeas from overwatering than any other lesson I have taught in 40 years of trial garden work. Quick word before number 3. There is more practical perennial garden design than fits in any one video. I gathered 40 years of it into a book at henrysgardensecrets.com. The book is the long version. I will not bring it up again. Mistake number 3, the wrong fertilizer at the wrong time and the coffee grounds myth. Most hydrangea fertilizer mistakes trace to one thing: too much nitrogen, too late in the season. Nitrogen pushes the plant to produce leafy green growth, which sounds good in theory until you understand what happens next. That soft late summer growth does not have time to harden off before the first frost, and that soft growth is exactly where the flower buds for next year are supposed to be forming. When the frost kills the soft tips, the buds go with them. The fix is timing. Fertilize hydrangeas once in early spring. A balanced, slow release like a spoma hollytone for the acid-loving big leaves, or a plain 10-10-10 for the panicles and smooth types. If you feel a second feeding is needed, no later than the 4th of July, and use a balanced, low nitrogen formula rather than a heavy bloom booster. High phosphorus formulas like 10-30-10 actually lock up the aluminum big leafs need for the deep blue color. After Independence Day, no more fertilizer. Let the plant harden off for winter. Now the myth I need to break, because I have heard it from more well-meaning gardeners than any other. Coffee grounds do not turn hydrangeas blue. Neither do pennies buried at the roots. Neither do rusty nails or aluminum cans or eggshells. The color of a hydrangea is not driven by what you feed it. It is driven by the aluminum available in the soil, which is driven by soil pH. My grandmother believed in the coffee grounds trick and dumped her breakfast grounds around her front porch hydrangea every morning for a decade. That plant stayed pink the entire decade because her Ohio soil was mildly alkaline and aluminum was not chemically available no matter what else she added. The actual mechanism: big leaf and mountain hydrangeas, and only those two types, change color based on soil pH. Below 6.0, aluminum becomes soluble and the plant absorbs it, turning the flowers blue. Above 7.0, the aluminum locks up and stays in the soil and the flowers turn pink. To go blue, add aluminum sulfate in early spring, and only aluminum sulfate, sold at any real garden center. To go pink, add garden lime. Both require patience. It takes a full season of pH adjustment to see the color shift. One important note: panicle hydrangeas and smooth hydrangeas, limelight, bobo, annabelle, incredible, cannot change color no matter what you add to the soil. Their color is genetically fixed. If you have been trying to turn a limelight blue, you can stop. It is never going to happen. If 40 years of trial garden notes on the actual mechanics behind hydrangea color sounds like the kind of gardening advice you want more of, tap subscribe. New notes every couple of days. Mistake number 2, the wrong mulch approach, either none or the volcano. Hydrangeas have shallow, sensitive root systems that hate temperature extremes. Bare soil around the base of a hydrangea heats up to well over 100 degrees in July afternoon sun, cooking the feeder roots directly under the surface. In winter, that same bare soil freezes deep and fast, and the freeze can travel through the root zone and damage the crown. Both are avoidable with a 2 to 3 inch layer of natural mulch. That is not optional for hydrangeas. It is required. The second version of this mistake is the opposite direction. The gardener knows mulch is good, so they pile it up against the stem of the shrub, 6 inches deep, right against the wood, sometimes even mound it up into a small volcano shape around the base. That kills the plant slower than bare soil, but it kills it just as reliably. The bark under the mulch stays wet and cannot breathe. Fungal cankers move in. Voles chew the bark under the mulch cover in winter. Roots start growing up into the mulch instead of down into the soil, and those surface roots die off in the first drought. The fix is exact: 2 to 3 inches of shredded bark or shredded leaf mulch pulled back 4 to 6 inches from the base of the stem. Flat spread, not mounded. Refresh once a year in early spring. That is the entire technique. Do not pile it against the wood. Do not skip it entirely. 2 to 3 inches, 4 inches away from the stem. One additional note that separates real hydrangea growers from the rest. If you have room to compost your own fallen leaves, oak, maple, whatever your yard produces, the leaf mold you get after a year of decomposition is the single best mulch material you can put on a hydrangea bed. It is more effective than the bag-shredded hardwood mulch. It costs nothing, and it slowly acidifies the soil over years, which the big leaves love. One more thing before number 1. If you have been growing hydrangeas for a decade and you learned something new in this video, tap like just once. That is the whole favor. The last mistake is the one that costs you an entire year of flowers in one weather event you saw coming. Mistake number 1, not protecting the old wood buds through the winter and the late spring frost. I will be honest, I went back and forth on whether pruning or winter bud kill deserved to close this list. Pruning is what most gardeners get wrong most often. Winter bud kill cost them the entire year in one weather event they saw coming and never took 15 minutes to prevent. That is why it sits at number 1. A mophead with no flowers in July is the single most heartbreaking sight in an American garden. This is the mistake behind every disappointed endless summer owner I have talked to for 20 years. Forums are filled with posts titled, "My hydrangea leafs out beautifully, but never blooms." It is not the pruning. It is not the sun. It is winter bud damage on old wood cultivars, big leaves, lace caps, oak leaves, mountains. 3 moments kill the buds. A December freeze before the plant hardens off, a midwinter warm spell that pulls buds from dormancy, followed by a return to cold, and the most painful, a late April frost after buds have swollen. 29 degrees for one night ends the season. The fix has 3 parts. First, mound 8 to 12 inches of shredded leaf mulch around the base after the first hard freeze, covering the lowest 2/3 of the stems. Zones 4 and 5, add loose burlap wrap for the coldest weeks. Second, watch the April forecast every day. The moment a night below 32 degrees is predicted, drop a bed sheet or cardboard box over the shrub to trap ground heat. Remove it in the morning. Cover the night before, never after. Third, if cold pockets keep costing you seasons, upgrade cultivars. Bloomstruck instead of original endless summer. Or Incrediball, a smooth hydrangea that blooms on new wood every year, with stems that do not flop like Annabelle. The winter of 2007, could have been 2008, killed the old wood buds on all 3 endless summers along my property. I had not mounded them. I remember standing in June looking at 3 green shrubs with not a single flower, understanding what I had paid for by cutting corners in November. I have covered them every winter since. 7 mistakes. 4, the magazines got wrong. 2, we skip because the fix looks too simple. 1 costs the whole year of flowers because we skipped 15 minutes of work last November. Easiest to fix tonight is number 4. Turn off the sprinkler. Soaker hose twice a week. Drop the mistake number that hit closest to home and your U.S. state. The regional pattern tells me what to cover next. Fix these 7 and your hydrangea bed will do what the pot tag promised.